Hello, it's me, Josh Alston, again, in returning for our assignment from North Central University, MFT6102, Week 8 discussion of the considered ethics in assessment, diagnostics, and treatments. The assignment to look over this week was the idea of selecting 3 ethical codes and discussing how it can be mindful of these guidelines when providing assessment, diagnostic, and treatment to clients. So we'll jump right into that and talk about these different things. First one is, I think the most obvious, is code 1.1, the non-discrimination. It says marriage and family therapists provide professional assistance to persons without discrimination on the basis of race, age, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, disability, gender, health status, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, or relationship status. So it's definitely all-encompassing, but then it has the same aspect of the fact that it also leaves out the idea that as different things progress in life, people discover different things about themselves. There are different areas, so you can't really be specific on every different thing that you can't discriminate against. So I think the important thing as a marriage and family therapist is that idea of uniformity, and not to just assume the diagnosis that somebody comes in and says, oh, I'm this, I'm such and such, I'm a male, I'm a female, or I'm this religion or that religion, and not to jump to different conclusions, because it's one of those things that's when part of the discrimination happens without us thinking about it, is when we jump to conclusions based on other things we feel. One thing that you might want to consider is the idea of make sure that you use certain tested assessment tools, different things that people have researched to the ethnicity of using these different things that have helped to rule out different diagnostics without the use of all the discriminatory different things. Don't go off with what the client says either. I mean, just because some of the clients says, look, I'm this religion, and because of this religion I have these certain problems, I don't think that's something that we can use. I mean, we need to have grounds for basis and things that we can use to help and use that as an advantage. But I think we need to go back to the original root of the problems that they're facing. The last thing I would just say is just be upfront. Be upfront with the client as you work with them in the idea of if they feel discriminated in any way, they need to be upfront and talk about it. And as you look and as you learn, because you're learning together, that you'll be able to be more open to that. Code number 2, or the second code that I was looking at, is 1.3, the multiple relationships. I chose this one because it talks about the idea that marriage and family therapists are aware of their influential position with respect to clients, and they avoid exploiting the trust and dependency of such persons. Therapists therefore make every effort to avoid conditions in multiple relationships with clients that could impair personal judgment or increase the risk of exploitation. Such relationships include, but are not limited to, do business and close personal relationships with a client or the client's immediate family, when the risk of impairment or an exploitation exists due to conditions or multiple roles. Therapists document the appropriate precautions taken. And I think this is important to, and it's actually it's the 1.3. So just after we talk about discrimination, they talk about the multiple relationships. We need to understand that the code of ethics that we have here are put in place to protect us as therapists, protect us as people. The idea that multiple relationships is there, we don't want to avoid stepping on other people's toes in areas that they don't want us to, or unnecessarily stepping on people's toes. I think it's important right from the very beginning. Like, for example, if you had somebody in your family wanted to come and say, oh, I can't afford therapy, can you do therapy for me, blah, 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 the different things, or somebody from work that wanted to have different questions. It's important to let the people know straight up front that you need to understand that multiple relationships is not a smart idea. It's not something that you want to condone, because of that idea that as you interact with the people and interact with mutual relationships that you might have, that maybe spouse or whatever, You don't want something to spill out without having, prior knowledge or being able to protect yourself from it. So just be upfront with somebody. If they really understand what they're getting themselves into using you as a therapist, they can make that decision, and then you document it. You put it down. You have them sign the papers that are needed, that they understand and fully understand what it is that they are accepting. Another option is to basically you network. Find other people that that might be good for them. If they're looking for a therapist that's cheaper, you can help them to find that person maybe that would be good to help them. That's kind of like yourself, that you could trade with, or that the other person that you network with might have people that they want to refer you, and then you can make a trade those in that regard. So it's still something you can take advantage of. But using and knowing the ethics of not being involved in that is very smart, even though you want to be able to help and you want to be able to add and give your advice because of the training that you received. Last code, or it's actually, it's a double code. It's 3.2 and 3.3. 3.2 is the knowledge of regulatory standards, basically saying marriage and family therapists pursue appropriate consultation and training to ensure adequate knowledge and the adherence to applicable laws, ethics, and professional standards. And 3.3 is seek assistance. Marriage and family therapists seek appropriate professional assistance for issues that may impair work performance or clinical judgment. I think this is really important. I think this is the most important aspect of all the code of ethics, is that idea of the continual learning and the continual adaptation of our understanding of what it is to become a marriage and family therapist. If we just base our training and base our lives and our therapy on past ethics and past different things, they might have expired, or they might have to be altered in such a way to protect. Like I said, these codes are here to protect us and to protect our clients. And as the world changes, as it does, and as we research and we find new publications that come out and help us to see and understand a certain person or a certain therapy better, we need to be able to adapt. And so I think the biggest thing that we can do is to definitely be involved in our local and national associations, like the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapists is a perfect example, because they have newsletters, they have conferences where people are constantly being updated, being trained, and being helped in that regard. Another thing that you could do is just on your own. Make sure you research, be consistent and research the ethics, code of ethics, and go over things, but look and see if there's any new processes that have come up. And the last thing is, in regards to seeking assistance, is that idea, don't be afraid to network. The idea of being involved in the local and national associations has that aspect of being able to network with people that have specialties, different areas of studies, different years of just experience, that if you come across something and you don't understand it, do not be afraid to reach out to others that are licensed, other people that know what they're doing, to be able to help you so that in future you can do the same for somebody else. Knowledge and assistance and understanding that we don't know everything is one of the biggest tools that we have. As a marriage and family therapist, when somebody comes to us, they are basically in that same lack of understanding. We have a lack of understanding towards them, so our goal is to feel that understanding for ourselves and for them, and give them something that they can use to be able to change their life. One of the biggest things that we read in the Stories of the Accused paper by Coy, Lambert, and Miller talks about that idea that as these therapists were basically reprimanded for different things that they were doing, they talked about it being life-changing. And that's what we're doing. We're changing people's lives, but we also have to understand that the things that we do wrong are also going to be changing people's lives for the worse, for the better. It's not up to us, but we need to make sure that these code of ethics are followed. And it's one of the things that we need to not discriminate ourselves, not put ourselves in a situation that's going to make ourselves unknown, or basically get us into situations where we'll have to deny these ethics. So those are my thoughts. Those are the things I wanted to share with you, and I'll say goodbye. Thank you.